Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Captain's Academy. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Sienar fleet systems, TIE Bomber 2. TIE Bomber 2 is a Core 2 spawn for Vanilla, Reforged Eden, and Reforged Eden 2. Normally my builds feature a somewhat compartmentalized and hidden away upgrade system. Here with this build we have sort of a just like a giant central compartment, so the upgrade process will be kind of more intuitive. Now there will be some sneaky features like with the thrusters needing to be upgraded, so that's something we'll be go over. Maybe some of the weapon mount points, but for the most part the central compartment should be pretty intuitive. Now there will be a good bit of toggle here how you want to configure it. It's going to be entirely up to you, but let's get started with our generator system. So, a couple options here. So we're spawning in with the double 2x1 configuration. Probably going to be good for vanilla, but for Reforged players, if we wanted to upgrade that, we could go pair generators there, and that should probably last you a good while. It's not too big of a frame, so whatever you get on there, I think should be sufficient with these two generators. Now, once you start dipping into like some of the bigger shield extenders and stuff like that, you'll be wanting something a little bit more sufficient. So you get to the point where you go to the fusion generator. It's probably going to be the way to go with that. So with that fusion generator in place, we can go ahead and move on to CPU. Again, it's a Core 2 spawn, so we have our one basic here, so just need to build on that. I would suggest probably go on this top run here for some of these by one size CPUs, so like that. And maybe we want to get rid of that basic. We'll put him somewhere else. Let's pull these two out. So let's say we got our both of our improved and our advanced there. So we got a couple options, right? We could just go ahead and slot that in right there. That would take care of that. Now, coming in with a passenger seat, if you want to find a spot for a little bit more upgrade options, you could do that. Take that thing out. Maybe it could be additional CPU, could be a fridge, whatever. Alright, so before we move on to our additional CPU, some things I want to go over here. You got this central walkway, and so if you stay towards the middle here, like this run right here, you shouldn't melt yourself by whatever's on the outside here. So that's going to be a thing. Just be mindful of your placements. Anything that's like hot or radioactive, you want to push towards the back, obviously. So if we're talking like... let's go ahead and have a look at our pentaxid shield, jump drive, all that sort of thing. Since these are the ones that tend to burn. So a couple things, probably maybe want to go here. One thing I need to go over is the cargo's kind of limited. We got 3,300 there for this ammo and then 1.9. So probably would want to expand it. Now it's not going to be so much of an issue if you're doing like the some of the infrared weapons, for example, with their ammo. It's not doesn't really take up that much space, that much volume, so that could be a thing to consider. So if you want to do an expansion, we have the A line here. This is running our ammo, and we could expand in this whole block if we wanted to consume that. Now, if we want to do a jump drive, we've got a couple options. So this might be ideal here. It still gives us enough clearance in this area. Right. So we could do that, and then for our shields, we could go like that. And that'll leave the ground here for like some extenders, and we could expand on our cargo there if we wanted to do that. CPU at 12K, so probably going to need a lot more CPU in addition to that. But, so let's say we wanted to expand our cargo. So maybe we'll just do this right here, and, oops. So I'll leave a little bit of run there for our extenders if we wanted to do that. Pentax tank, that's got to go in. That's a thing. Yeah, so keep in mind your configuration will vary. You should build for whatever your needs are. And of course, it's gonna, that'll change over the different scenarios. So obviously, maybe not so much needed for vanilla as far as like extenders, since that's not necessarily a thing in the game. So no worries there. But for RE2 and Reforged Eden, we do have a good number of components to try to fit in place. Let's actually get this door, turn this thing off before I go insane. Alright, so CPU, so let's say we're stopping there at our superior run. Now again, we do have more space, and we could build on this here if we wanted to do that. But, so let's say we have oh yeah, we do have these devices here. We'll take a look at that. But before we do it, let's go ahead and take a look at our shield extenders. All right. So, same thing here. You'd want to push back this the radioactive stuff. So, probably not ideal to have the CPU tucked in the middle. We'd want to bury this somewhere. So just as an example, let's say we lay down a couple of these here. Let's get this color code out of the way. It could do something like that, and then go ahead and pop our CPU back in. These could be quantums placed up here if you wanted to do that. Yeah, just a good number of configurations. Now, you'd probably want to have, like, you could put a CPU here, and that'll leave you a single run to fit through. You should be able to fit through that well, actually, you'd have to duck because the sensor. Alright, that's kind of janky. So maybe you want to put the CPU on this side. But what I was going to say is, if you don't leave like a 2x1 walkway out, if you park at an angle, that's going to leave you in a situation where you're not going to be able to get out. So just keep that in mind. You're going to leave a little bit of clearance. And yeah, so that's our jump drive. We got Pentax laid out, that's fine. Shield extenders, I would suggest, yeah, obviously you want to upgrade your shield first, and then for the boosters, really you may just want to use like 2 or maybe 3 at the most for some of the bigger ones. It's not that big of a frame for having every part in here. And then obviously the CPU deficiency with the smaller ones. So just having some bigger ones would be ideal. Now, alright, so we've looked at so we should be good on our power there, so we're not worried about that. So we've already got a shield on there. Let's take a look at some of our miscellaneous options. Like, a good spot for a trauma station would be tucked away right there. So when you get kicked out of these seats, you should get kicked out to this side. So you're not really going to have a use for this side over here, so that would be a good spot for your trauma station. Constructor, that's yeah, again, you could probably just take out that seat right there if you wanted to do that. Stand-up constructor, that could work. Yeah, that's all fine. That could work. Keep in mind we do have a armor locker right there. So that's kind of the guts of it, right? Again, so maybe you don't need to worry about having some of this walkway open up like this. Although, again, I would suggest you want to keep a good clearance for getting out of here if you're parked at an angle. That's the thing. You could trap yourself. Let's see. So, alright. Probably want to do our weapons next. Actually, let's do thrusters. Let's take a look at our thruster options. So coming in, we have a pair of the 5x2 there. And we have one for strafe, and we do have the option to upgrade that. So our tail is going to be this little, these grates right here. So take these out and, oh yeah, we got to take this block out here just for this side. There's only one on this side, and that was just to give a backdrop for that open area there. All right, so that's done. That would be all of our strafe. Keep in mind, obviously, Reforged Eden 2, you can actually upgrade the thruster, so you probably won't need that much. This also should be sufficient for vanilla, I would think. All right, so that's strafe thrust. Let's go ahead and take a look at reverse. Got a couple options here. We could just upgrade these right on the spot, but if we wanted to go for the 5x2s, we could do that also. And that's that. Nice and easy. So for lifts and down thrust, we don't have any 5x2 placements. Kind of tricky with the scale of the build. So fortunately, we do have spots for 3x1s, and what we're going to be looking for are these angled pipes here, right? So that's going to be our tail for our placement. So we want to take that and take the block below it, and then that's just going to head up, open thing up. There we go. Same thing for the bottom. Right, so I'll just go ahead and flip this guy here. And there we go. Real easy, real simple. Again, of course, with RE2, can upgrade the thruster, so maybe it's modest right now, but you turn those babies into some plasmas or maybe some antimatter, and then you're really going to start getting some torque fever. Torque fever, that's if that's a thing. Yeah, it feels better. Of course, at this point, maybe you could drop one of these RCS. Really, you just need the one. So at this point, you could drop one of the RCS, and that would open up that spot for something else. Maybe you want to move the fridge and possibly even both of the RCS and drop like a quantum processor in there. That could be a thing. And just make sure we're not missing anything with the thrust. That should be everything. All right. So that is that. Now, essentially the last thing here is going to be our weapons. Right. Well, I should point out with the radar placement. So I guess you could do a couple things. Maybe you want to do, let's see here. Gotta get rid of our detector for RE2. So, I guess for vanilla or Reforged Eden 1, this could be a placement here. Probably not a good one for RE2, since that's going to be an obvious spot to take fire. But that is an option. Now, if we're not happy with that, we don't like that exposure from the front, then what we can do is cannibalize some of this aesthetic, and we can do that by taking out that block there, and these two thin blocks, and then these angled blocks here, so that way we open up our 3x1 area, and there we go. So that is an option. Now, if you have also some sort of 3x whatever block, and you need to stick it somewhere, you could do that for the opposite side as well. So that way, at least you're not taking shots from the front or the bottom. The radar is going to have a little bit more mitigation, being that it's hidden. Right, so radar placement done. Let's go ahead and take a look at our weapons next. So, several options here. Ideally, this is kind of like the rocket pod, staying with the theme of the actual TIE bomber itself. That's where our ordnance would come out. So, a couple things to keep in mind here is that this is going to be a prime target. Okay, the AIs really want to take a look at that forward-facing weaponry. So, Now, you do have some options, like I would suggest this as a configuration. There is a double layer here, right? There's a double wall behind it. It's double hardened steel, so it should give you a good protection. Now, this section here, too, this is also hardened steel, so should one of these detonate, it's going to help mitigate against chain reaction. So that is a thing, but if you want to get greedy, or if maybe you're vanilla or Reforged 1, you're not worried so much about shield penetration, that could be an option, right? Okay, that's an option. Now, and it could be any weapon, right? It could be rockets, it could be, you know, you could do like lasers there or something. That's entirely up to you. But for the sake of it, let's just say we're doing rockets. And if we want to bury it, we want to get even greedier, we can push back to this final layer beyond the mark off there, and right. So now it's nice and flush. Okay, just just be mindful of your hit points on the devices there, because if that goes, then that's going to make a big explosion, right? It will be an authentic TIE Bomber explosion for RE2, so keep that in mind. Obviously, that's not so much of a worry for RE1 and Vanilla. Alright, so yeah, so that's a couple obvious mounting spots, and of course, if we wanted to eventually upgrade the GATs, we can do that. So that would take care of that, and also we have a number of other options. Could do some bottom mounts, something like that. Right? Well, that's our weapon limit there. But yeah, you could do a run right there. Now, if you don't want to do that, you could do a line right there on either side, or this could be like mining lasers if you wanted to do that. Right? Now, as far as the, let's see, what is that, like, 7? Yeah. So that's it. I mean, you could get your 8 if you want to do mediums right there. It should fill out at 8. Right. Where's this heavies? Yeah, it's mediums. Alright. So, now, obviously bombs, you know, it is a bomber, so let's see. Okay, we can't get rid of that. It's an accident. Is that just an odd placement? Okay, that's an off-center placement. That's what that is. 2x1. Alright, well, yeah, so that's an option, right? These bombs are really big. Let's see. Let's look at the other bombs. Right, this is kind of what this was designed for. This, these other bombs, this is a later development, right? So I didn't have that in mind. So this is kind of the ideal thing right here. Pair of bombs there. Now, okay, so maybe this weapon loadout isn't your thing there, and you just want to do turrets, so let's say, looking at our turret placement, we could go like that. So that would be 3 there. Now, again with RE2, we're going to go ahead and take a look at something else to open up some additional turret or weapon placement. And that's going to be the fact of, so again with RE2, the one of the treasures of it is that you can actually upgrade your thrusters. So let's say we get rid of the 5x2s, and then that should open up a lane there. So then what that can do for us is, if we wanted to, we could mount some additional turrets there, right? Or it could be weapons if you wanted to do that. It could be additional weapons. Yeah, something like that. You know, you just continue on a run. You could say you could do sticks, right? 3 on either side. So that'd be a good display of mounted weaponry, I reckon. So would it be like 5 there, and then you got 6 on either side. You have the 2 there, so that's a respectable number. Again, you know, you could mix and match. It could be like drills there rather than weapons, so good number of options. Again, Could go weapons, or you could go turrets. Right. So that kind of concludes it as far as like the weapon options. There really isn't so much of anything on the top. This was all pushed out to make space for the inside, the internal compartments. So that was like the big thing, transitioning over from RE1 to RE2 is the some of the previous forms of this, the iterations like say the TIE Enforcer, with the exterior, a lot of it was comprised of cargo, right? So obviously with RE2, with the shield penetration and also the conjunction of how nasty flak is, like, so all of that needed to go subsurface. So we lost a lot of real estate doing that, but we're still pretty respectable for what it is. And then we kind of putting on a honest showing to the essence of the theme, right, with the TIE Bomber too. All right, so that's kind of it. I guess the last thing we want to take a look at is how do we change the colors and all that good thing. So also on the ship we do have an option for a logo toggle. So it's coming in spawn with the Imperial logo, and if we want to toggle that, we just go ahead and click that Rebel logo, and there it is. Just like that, okay? Now, if we want to go to the theme with our color configuration, we have some options, and so we're going to have 2 here, but also we're going to have an additional 3 on the workshop post. So check out the workshop post if you want to look at that. So we're just going to copy this numerical entry here, Control C, and now while we're looking at the build with our paint gun, right click, hit configure, and up at the top left, while holding down shift, left click down at the bottom right corner there, and then you're going to go ahead and hit paste. And then to lock it in, you got to hit OK. There it is. Congratulations, you've changed the color scheme. Not so much of an actual color scheme as it is just more of a striping. Now, there is one on the workshop. It's a pirate theme. It does more so of a color change theme, you know, rather than just a striping. So, again, check out the workshop post if you want to have a look at it. I think that should be it. We got everything covered here. How are we looking on our CPU? That's the stock one. Okay, 32. So we'd want to pop in a couple quantums, right? So we just maybe stand some up here or maybe lay it out here. And that would cover that. Should be all right then. All right, folks, that is it. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Captain's Academy. Until next time, LyfeForce out. Hey, folks, if you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you gain access to exclusive builds not featured on the workshop, early access builds, as well as participate in a number of things, including polls, feedback, comments, suggestions, ideas, or anything you'd like to submit to current and future builds. If any of this appeals to you, please consider becoming a patron today. Link in the pinned comment below. Thank you.